So we took it all the way back to freshman year for this one. My boy Ian joined us on the Down to Business podcast for today's interview. And one of the very first things that we talked about, and it was even a centralized theme throughout the podcast interview, was relocation. Someone being born in North Carolina, he didn't just relocate to South Carolina. He didn't just go to Atlanta, the DMV area, anything East Coast. My boy went all the way to North Dakota. Do you know where North Dakota is without pulling up a map? Even if you do pull up a map, you'll clearly see that North Carolina and North Dakota are definitely two separate places. And as someone like himself who was already building a brand, who was already working on business ventures and things like that, to have to go out there and do that and establish yourself somewhere totally different, it's not always the easiest thing. But he was really able to talk about how he really hit the ground running, how, there was definitely some loss of motivation. There were definitely some things that deterred him, but nonetheless, he kept his eye on the prize. He kept that tunnel vision, and he's really been able to have much success. And how you can actually support him in the business ventures and things that he has going on. So without further ado, enjoy episode 126, Testing the Comfort Zone. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast. Look, we are moving. The year is not over just yet, so we got to keep blessing. We got to keep coming with the content. 2023 is when we go for the books, but man, when I tell y'all, I'm happy about this one. I'm excited for this one. Man. My boy Ian is somebody who I've been freshman year at ECU. Big shout out to Dre because I feel like without Dre, without me always being here, I would have never met y'all boys. But Ian was definitely somebody who, we met, we kicked it off, we hit it off. But then we found out he had a special talent, y'all. Me, Dre, and Trey, we found out he had a special talent. So there were times where we would put him on the spot with said talent, but he always delivered. He was involved on campus, even utilizing his talent and everything. I don't want to disclose it. I'm going to let him give it to y'all. But essentially, I've been able to follow his progress a lot on social media. He's been doing a lot lately just with the content, just with partnerships, collaborations. I love everything that he has going on. He's not right now, but he's located in North Dakota, I found out. So that's just something that we got to get into as well. But no, very proud just to see all the moves he's been making, the direction that he's headed in, and I'm definitely excited to kind of just hear how everything was able to come together. So Ian, how you doing today, bro? How's everything on your end?
Man, doing great. I'm enjoying being out here in the warm weather for a little bit, man. I was in North Dakota just a couple days ago. I left, and there was 2 feet of snow on the ground. I'm sick, so I had to get out here, get back warm, get to that good food. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just glad to be
And
here.
it's crazy, y'all. The fact that he's saying that it's warm in North Carolina, I know a lot of my North Carolina followers are complaining about how cold it is. So that just goes to see how cold it is. So count your blessings. I woke up this morning. I'm not gonna lie, Florida. When I woke up this morning, me and Trey were actually looking at the weather last night. We said, man, it might snow tomorrow. It's gonna be a low of 44 in the morning. We said, but then I gotta look at when I was in Syracuse for a year. We woke up some days, the weather app says 0. So it was like, you definitely got to appreciate where you're coming from, where you are. Because like I said, North Carolina, North Dakota is no joke. Minnesota, none of that. I don't want any parts of that cold weather. So, but definitely, bro, I love what you have going on. I know that we're going to get some people from my side. I know we're going to get some people from your side. I know we're going to get the ECU crowd, the North Carolina crowd. But I know we're going to get some people far and few between. Some people who are going to be tapping first time, find out about you, find out about me. So can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then can you, two, just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah. So, first off, my name is Ian Childs. Shout out Billy, my boy. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be up here and to be a part of this. I've been seeing you do your thing for a minute, man. So I'm just glad to be one of the guests. But a little bit about me. Born, raised in North Carolina. We went to school at ECU, and then afterwards, I moved to North Dakota and started working on political campaigns. So I worked out there. My first job was working for Senator Heidi Heitkamp. And so I did some stuff for her. I was a field organizer, so I worked on her campaign, helped her out with a couple of things, connecting with the community, especially with the college group and the minorities. And after that, I started getting into back into music a little bit. And so, as you know, I did a little bit of stuff on campus. We had a little band. And we performed in a few spots out there. And then I kind of stepped into my own out in North Dakota because it's like it's getting cold. There wasn't too much to do. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna figure something out. And we ended up connecting with one of my friends who is a producer out there. And meeting some good friends, and then we just started getting in the lab, started clicking up, and it kind of inspired me to continue my music journey. And so out there doing that ever since. I've done some music with people in North Dakota. I've done music with people from around the country. We did a collab tape that dropped a couple months ago, which is really cool. And it's one of the things that has it's always been a passion of mine, but it hasn't been until recently that I really decided to step into my own and really pursue it, as a career as well. So I work in politics, my day job. I cook, I do a whole bunch of other things. You know how it be when you're an entrepreneur. So I do a lot, but music is my passion and something that I want to continue to excel and accelerate as the future. As the future keeps coming.
All right, y'all. See, look, I told y'all you had the talent, y'all, and I told y'all we kind of like we forced it on him, but not forced it on him, but so with me, Dre and Trey found out he could sing, man. We needed to hear it, man. We needed to show, but nonetheless, bro, it was very impressive to see you back then, to see the growth, to see the elevation. I don't think anybody, even you, more so would have pictured North Dakota, but nonetheless, there you are. There you're having it. So one of the first things I guess I kind of think about is what was it really like having to establish yourself in a new location. I know for me, coming from Philadelphia, being in North Carolina, coming to ECU, being in Greenville, North Carolina, let's be very specific here, the 252, it was a different experience for me. I'm a city boy. I'm used to that fast pace, that hustle and bustle. Greenville, it was a night and day difference, bro. It was a lot. Granted, I was out there for school, so it was a lot more people. It was a concentrated population, but nonetheless, you have to still reinvent yourself in a sense, or kind of get into that world. So coming from North Carolina, coming from where you were able to connect with so many different people, your alma mater, family, friends, and everything like that, and going way over to North Dakota, what was that transition like? What was that immediate experience like when you really got
Man, I'll tell you, it wasn't as easy as I expected it to be. For me coming from North Carolina and being, living all sorts of locations around there, I thought I met every type of person I could. And I get there and I had to hit the ground running with my job. I had 2 weeks to pack up everything from Greenville, move all my stuff to my mom's house, and then take a plane out there and then get established. So it was tough, to be honest, to kind of go from a place where I'm really comfortable to a place where I know literally nobody. And so it was like, you got to hit the ground running, got to make these connections, also got to do my job, also got to find an apartment. So I really came out there. I came out there in my book bag, in a suitcase, and I had a box shipped to me, and I lived out that for like the first month because I was just like I was trying to get the ground running and really try and get and be as impactful as you can, because that race was really important in terms of the makeup of the Senate. And so if she lost, that meant the Democrats lost. Um, they lost the majority in the Senate. So as soon as I got there, they was like, okay, you here? Let's get to work. 8 a.m. Be there. So it was an adjustment period for sure. And it was funny because when my family found out I was going to North Dakota, they're like, North Dakota, there's any black people out there? Like, what's going on? What's up? And they're like, you better count how many people look like you when you out there, because you don't know if you're gonna see them again. But what's really cool about it is that there's really a sense of community out in Fargo, and that was something that I hadn't experienced to that degree, because Fargo definitely has like a small town feel to it, but it's really a population of like 120,000 people. So it was bigger. It felt small because as soon as I start to meet somebody, then they know somebody else who knows that person, and it's like, okay, you can't, it's you got that small town feel, but everybody knows somebody else around you. So kind of navigating that, helped me explore a lot of different connections really quickly, because as I'm working in politics and I'm meeting all of these different legislators and people, and then I'm connecting people in the community so I can help connect them. It kind of opened a lot of doors for me. And that's how I ended up making some music connections, and then kind of started getting different jobs and that, a few other things as well while I was out there. So it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. The first couple of months, I was like, dang, I don't know nobody. This is, I gotta really had to put myself out there to like make friends, connections, and really figure out what was going on in town. They ain't got no type of southern food out there. Look, I was like, I gotta find some fried chicken. You know what I mean? Like all the food down here that you take for granted, like they do not have that up there. So it was like, it also inspired me to cook more as well. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna, really put myself out there and start cooking, and that turned into a business in itself, because people started seeing. But I was just making my own little meal preps and taking them to work. People were like, oh, okay, look at macaroni and cheese and stuff and third. I'm like, it's just when I'm trying to eat, because y'all like got this out here. They're like, bring me a plate next time. I'll slide you a 10 or something. And that turned into a whole thing in itself. So I that experience really kind of forced me to evolve in a sense and kind of be a little bit more extroverted. Um, but it was really cool because it helped me also figure out another side of me that I hadn't really ever explored because I'm putting myself out there so much. Then you start to realize, okay, this is a new Ian almost.
Oh wow, I was on mute. My bad. But no, I was saying I think you kind of left now. But Dre, hey, I got Ian on here, man. We chopping it up right now. Dre just joined my IG live.
Yes,
But
sir.
nah, bro, it's
That's
really
great.
crazy to hear one Fargo, North Dakota. One that's probably the only city I know in North Dakota now at this point. Like I don't really know what happened with that. But the fact that, like you said, the turnaround time to just getting out there, to just how you were living, to just the adjustments, to just hitting the ground running, to all of that, to being able to connect with something. It was just kind of small things that slowly but surely propelled you. So once you were able to make these music connections, what would you really say was your order of business? Were you trying to perform places? Were you trying to do collaborations with people? Did you want people to know you made music? Was it a lot of word of mouth? What was that really like immersing yourself into that music crowd out there though?
Sure. So it took me a while to kind of get into the space where I was, doing a lot of collaborative things, but really I wanted to, use this as an avenue to kind of, first of all, self-expression. I think that's a big part of what music is, and people who really appreciate the art and who are in it, you'll hear that in the songs that they write, or you'll feel that, and when you're listening to it. And so I really just kind of wanted to use that as an avenue for that. But also, I initially started off just trying to record some songs and get myself to be a little bit more knowledgeable on the process because I recorded a little bit, with the band that we had in college, but it wasn't nothing, it wasn't a big, it wasn't a lot. We weren't doing too much. So being in the studio, with an engineer who's telling you, okay, like I hear what you're doing, but you need, try this, or like I know about that part, and taking some of that criticism that comes with it was also like a growing experience. So initially, it was just me trying to put myself out there and get hone in on my craft and be a little bit better at it before I kind of introduce myself or reintroduce myself to the world. So started off that way, and then I dropped my. I remember the first song I dropped while I was out there. It was called Special Affair, and I don't know if you've heard of the internet, but I did a remix of their song and I did a verse on there. So that was the first song I put out, and I wasn't initially going to do that because it was just going to be like a practice track until we got to the real stuff. And my friends are like, "Hey, you keep playing this song in the car, and like everybody's like hearing it, and you're trying to send it to everybody because everybody wanted to listen to it. So like, why don't you spit it out?" I'm like, "Y'all, I'm talking about some crazy stuff on here. I want my mom hearing stuff I'm talking about, with the ladies." I'm like, "We ain't got to do all that." And they're like, "No, bro, like this is some heat. You got to put this out." And that was really my first like venture into putting music out because all my friends were like, "Dude, you got to put this song out, like do something," and it kind of helped me overcome the fear as well of just like people, being people hearing some of the stuff that's more my inner thoughts or stuff that I do, as an individual as opposed to who I am, externally, towards everybody else. So it was definitely a journey, but coming from there, and then now I'm doing shows, and people are trying to collaborate with me and doing events. I do an event about every month now, and it's been really good to see the growth just in myself. I look back and watch some of my videos, and I'm like, dang, like the body language, I'm missing notes, and now it's like I'm showing up, and people are like, oh, we want to see Ian, and I'm like, that's major to me. Like even if I only got 3, 4 people in the room who are there for me, like that still means a lot because I do this for myself first of all. So for other people to be inspired to work harder, and then other people to enjoy the music that I make, it just means a lot.
So I'm gonna tie my response back full circle for a couple of reasons. So one, we talk a lot of times about just getting involved in something for the first time, just really immersing ourselves into that, diving in. It's not always easy. Like you said, you were apprehensive. There was a fear there. It's like just that what if? How would you listen? And like you said, even now you reflect back on some of your first couple of songs, some of your first projects, first videos, everything like, and you just like, ooh, it's like cringy. But back then, people were still showing love, whether it was because they thoroughly enjoyed it? Was it because they rocked with you, or was it because they just resonated with it in some form or fashion, bro? I relate to that so much, and even Dre said it. Ian been musically talented since freshman year. That's what I'm saying. So for us, like we're so critical of ourselves. I listen to my first couple of episodes. I look at some of my first videos, and I'm like, man, what was I looking at? Or why was I swaying so much back and forth? Or why was I, just nitpicking little things? But other people, they just watch it. They like, wow, that was a good video, bro. Like, I don't really know what you do for you. It's just like, it's a totally different, as a creative, as an artist, whatever you kind of want to deem yourself, you just value and appreciate the art so much differently because, you've been in it so long. You've been involved in some capacity and so long. So you're going to value it differently. I tell people sometimes the best worst thing that happened to me was going to grad school and studying like sports communication, broadcast, and all of that. Because now I can't watch TV the same. Like I love sports, I love TV, but now I'm watching it from the production mindset. Or like, why is that camera facing that way? Why didn't they show the score then? Why didn't they put that? It's like I'm like, dang, like what? Like who am I? Whereas before I was just watching the game. Like, all right, what's the score? Like we really gonna get into it. But something like you said, you were just scared. You didn't want certain people to go in. Well, one, why I thought you stayed in Minnesota was because I was actually looking at some division, DVSN. I was looking at his tour dates. And I saw you comment underneath the post and said, "Do y'all need people?" I mean, so, but it's just that one that speaks to your growth, bro. It's certain things that it's certain pages that I wouldn't tag or certain pages that I wouldn't follow or me coming into my journey or me even before I had a podcast page, I wasn't doing certain things that I'm doing now. I wasn't tagging the I am athletes. I wasn't tagging the $1 million worth of games, the earn your leisures, the Rogans, the podcast, Joe Buttons, all of that. I wasn't doing that because I felt like I wasn't of that status or of that stature. But then when you take a step back, when you really realize that you're you through and through, unapologetically, it doesn't matter how many followers, how many likes, how many shares, reposts, whatever, collaborations, testimonials, whatever. You're gonna do you. You're gonna step into that lane, and you're gonna, sometimes it's that newfound confidence. It just takes one person or one song, or you listen back to something, or you see how other people appreciate your art, and you're like, wow. Like sometimes I'm like that. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from people, I want to add you to the team now. Like that, you critically like explored it like that. Like you got that from that. You listened that far in. That was a 45-minute episode. You listened that far? Wow. Or maybe you didn't, but you made it sound good. You made it look good. But I feel like with artists, with growth, with creativity, that's such important. You think about you have to grow to appreciate the process, however that looks for you. Whether it starts in North Carolina, ends up in North Dakota, and then overseas, and now you low key entered a new world in a sense, bro. You have people in a totally different area in what's a close knit community rocking with your art, knowing who you are. I promise you, I come to Fargo, North Dakota, they know who Ian is, man. They know what's going on. They know what's happening. So the fact that you were able to go out there and reinvent that wheel, but still stay true to you, I think that's amazing. So you touched on earlier about being able to go overseas and just having some opportunities with that and being able to kind of go out and still be musically inclined in different countries. So what was that? Talk to me about that. What are some places that you've been able to kind of take this talent? What are some collaborations that you've been able to have as a result of everything that you have going on?
Yeah, so I would say the collaboration that really I just every time I listen to this album has been really it's been really inspiring for me. Is we did a tape in Chicago. And we did this in I think it was October of last year, and so I hit up one of my friends who was from Fargo, and he'd moved out there, and I was like, dude, everybody knows Dreamville in my circle, so it's like, okay, I saw how they did their tape. They basically had everybody come to the studio for a week, and they rent out the whole studio, and it's had all these artists. They were doing some like Willy Wonka golden ticket type stuff, sending tickets to everybody. And so I was like, why don't we recreate something like that, and then just we can all just connect and network as artists and engineers and producers, and just find a way, to be in a creative space. And so we ended up like putting a couple things together, and then my friends go, okay, bet we're gonna do this in my friend's studio. We had the whole setup, and I was like, okay, bet. So they put a whole list of people together, and we all went out there. I took two of my friends. One of my friends, his name is DK. This man, he is probably one of the best rappers I know, but he is not like music is not like his top priority. Like he has a business and a few other things. So I was like, bro, get your ass out here. Like, let's go, let's do this, and my friend Beatrice, and a lot of people who I knew were trying to be inspired and to do, take the next step in music. So I was like, we brought them out there, and we literally drove from Fargo to Chicago, and that is like a 10, 11 hour drive, so it's not the easiest thing, but I was like, for this experience, like it's going to be worth it. And I think we cut 10 tracks out of that whole out of a weekend. We did 15 songs in 2 days, and then we cut 10 tracks out of it, and it was a great vibe. I have this song called To the Top, and it's one of my favorite songs. We didn't drop this album until October of this year, and I promise you, I've probably played that song more than anybody else, more than any other song that I have, because it's just one of my favorite ones. And that was a really good experience because it was cool to be able to meet and connect with other artists and to be able to bring things out of people. And when you're in a room with a lot of creatives, you're gonna find things and different flavors about yourself that you've never explored, and you're gonna help other people do the same thing. And so that was a really good experience. And that's probably my biggest one so far. I would say we're working on doing some things in a few other places. So trying to get back to North Carolina. And I've met a lot of artists. I always meet every time I come back here. I'm just a networker at heart. So I'm always meeting people. I always find somebody in the room who makes music. And so just trying to put another team together, do something similar like that here in North Carolina would be really cool. And I'm connecting with some artists to try and make that happen. And then I've been invited to other places as well. So LA. I've got something going on in March in Boston. There's a studio out there that invited me to do some work with them. So I've, at first it was really much like just doing a lot of things in Fargo, but now for me, I'm trying to expand and try different things. Get out of my comfort zone. Really connect with people and artists who are like-minded and people who can challenge me. In their experiences and as their artistry as well.
That's fire, bro. And that's fire just because, you think about all the experiences, all the risks, all the rewards, all the road trips, all the trial and error, all the, it was probably days you woke up and you were just like, wow, like I love music, but things are just, things don't always just go your way or things don't happen sometimes as fast as we want them to or when we want them to, how we want them to, under the circumstances that we want them to. But nonetheless, bro, in any facet, in any shape or form, to continue to push, to continue to drive, like you said, to make that drive, that 10, 11 hour drive, and just tell yourself that, look, I know without a shadow of a doubt, this is great. This is going to, but for you, if you know it's going to be worth it, because what did you say? You're a natural networker at heart. You're going to go there and you're not just going to be another person in the room amongst the number. You're going to let them know that, look, my presence is here. And it's not even from a try hard perspective where you're just forcing or you didn't read the room. It's just that's just who you are. I was talking to somebody last night just about, just that energy sometimes. Like it's not about, I even spoke with a interviewee TV. He said, I'm not trying to be the biggest in the room. I don't need to be. I don't need to be the most noticeable, the most flashy, everything like that. Because at the end of the day, my energy, my name, my work ethic, my craft, it's going to speak for itself. Naturally, some people just have that energy. You just flock to that. You just want to. What does he do? Why is he standing there like that? What is he? Why is he? I need to know more. I need to. And those are the people. That's the type of individual that I see, bro. And that's the type that I hear. But you are also surrounding yourself with people like that, with vibes like that. And essentially, you didn't take no for an answer, bro. You, like you said, you kind of did with some. I couldn't move to Fargo, North Dakota, bro. I'm gonna just be very honest with you. If I had to, yeah, I would. But a 2 week turnaround time, make everything happen just fresh out of school, and then just make that happen. And then it wasn't even a move and you chill. It was a move, and like you said, 8 a.m. Let's get it. Let's do it. And this isn't even something that you wanted to do, but naturally you plugged yourself in. You stay true. You stay steadfast, and look where it's at now. You can speak to so much, bro. And that's why it's always just so scary to me about how close you could be. You never know. You're one collaboration, one chorus, one verse, one drop, one beat away from a new opportunity, and not even speaking from the perspective of vibe or wealthy or anything like that, but a new opportunity. With each song, with each artist collaboration, with each episode, with each giveaway that I do, with each reel that I do, you're getting exposed to somebody else. Each outlet that you hit, you're on different platforms. People are tapping in with you. When I found out like the podcast was listened to in over 50 countries, when I found out I was listened to in over five, I was like, wow, like, I've never even talked to anybody international. But the fact that it's making it out there, that just goes to show you that you don't know where you are. You've been international, but you don't know that your music was international before you even stepped foot out of the country. You know what I mean? That's amazing, but that's scary at the same time. So thinking about, kind of what you have going on now, where you are in life, what you're doing, being in North Dakota and everything like that. What does moving forward look like? What does the tracks look like? Are you thinking about, obviously not even speaking from the perspective of we're about to end one year and go into the next. But I know Ian is always thinking. I know he's always moving. I know he's always looking for new opportunities and collaborations. So what is next? Is this a thing of where you continue to build in North Dakota, continue to build in that sector that you're in? Are you looking to kind of get back this way? Are you looking to even go elsewhere, maybe change locations? What's that track look like?
Yeah. So, and to kind of like let me set this up a little bit first. I would say so. I my life pretty much revolves around a few pillars that I've kind of honed down on the things that I do, the things that I enjoy, the things that I make money off of, and kind of how I want to build community. And essentially, I think a lot of people find that one thing they want to do is help people. And I think for me, I kind of dive into that further, and I was like, okay, how do I want to do that? And with music, that's been something that's been a passion of mine since I was a kid. Like my mom just walked in, and we used to be um, harmonizing in the car. When I was 4 years old, like that's how I learned to sing. You know what I mean? So, music has been a big pillar. Politics, I work on campaigns. Every other year, I worked on campaigns all year this year. And so that was a new experience for me to be doing something like that year round. So with music and politics and food, I have a catering business. I do that on the side, just kind of like bring that together. And then actually, cannabis is another pillar of my platform. And so something that I'm working on right now is I'm trying to build a community around all of those four pillars. And so I actually got this hoodie on today, kind of coincidentally, but basically one thing I want to do, and I'll pull this down to show you, but this is my company called Space Shack. And what we do right now, it's mainly merch, but I want to build a community out of that and those four pillars. A place where people can have those discussions on politics and social issues, and kind of find more ways to collaborate instead of compete against each other. And something I've found in politics that happens so often is people are looking to find a way to compete against you, as opposed to saying like, hey, we got an issue, you got an issue. Let's see if we can help each other figure this out. So I want to build a community based on that. Based on the music and combining that with food. And so this is kind of the next step for me is to kind of build Space Shack. And so that's what I'm working on right now. Building a space where people can work on music and art and creativity, where people can eat some good food, and have a place to be themselves and have conversations. Because something that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's something that we can talk about on the podcast, I kind of threw this up, but something that I've noticed is that when you're sitting in a session and people are passing around a blunt or something like that, like you have real conversations, and you have um, uh, an opportunity to talk to people about things that you may have never talked to them about, or talk to someone you've never talked to about, because that's just been something that has removed a barrier between two people. So I look at all of those four things and I'm like, okay, I've done a lot. I've done some things in each of these categories, and how am I going to bring all that together? And that's where this kind of came about. So the next step for me is really just trying to put all of these four things I've been working on for years, and kind of combining them and making, kind of making something all encompassing. So moving forward, well, I say a Fargo, I'm not gonna lie, winters suck. Winters suck. It's like 8 months out the year where you might get snow. It might be -10. Like you don't know, but it's been good for me. In terms of development. For my life, and it's something that I think was supposed to happen. If I hadn't gone to Fargo, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have gone through the things that I went through to get to the level I am and some of the things that I do with my life. So I'm looking at moving back to the East Coast. Something that's really been popping in my head recently is like Rhode Island and New Jersey and something like that. And to be able to kind of be close to these markets, as well as to be somewhere where I can continue to work in politics, help people build community in that end, do music, be in a bigger place, bigger area where I can connect and collaborate with more artists, has been something that has been top of mind for me recently. And so that's kind of what that's looking like. I'm working on an album right now. And after that, I kind of get a couple more things set together. Then I'm going to start looking at, where it's going to be that next step and where I'm going to be, taking things further.
I love that, man. Man, it's one. So I'm in the IG now, just because he gave a lot of sauce there, and I don't want y'all to. Yeah, y'all gonna have to find the episode after this one. So I appreciate y'all. But nah, bro. Honestly, like I think that is so important that you have different passions, different interests, different hobbies, and you found your respective lanes and found your respective involvement with that, bro. One, I think about passions that I have, hobbies that I have, things that I love to do. I want to start a nonprofit based around the education system. I still want to be a DJ. I know we even used to touch on that at ECU and stuff like that. So you have different things like that. But I also think music itself is a lot. Politics itself is a lot. Cannabis itself is a lot. Catering is, man. That's a whole lot. So it's just like the fact that you're still trying to, but not even trying. You're maneuvering. You're making it happen. You're thinking, bro. You just gave me a whole. You just mapped out all four of the pillars, and you just gave me what you're trying to do with each of them, and you're repping one of them. So it's just like that's amazing. But something that comes to question for me, balance. All about balance. It's all about, whatever you, obviously, you strike me as somebody who I've known over the years now, who, whatever you do, whatever you step foot in, you're going to put your best foot forward every single time. And that's indicative by the decisions that you made by where you are right now. So, with your interests, with what you're thinking about, with all four pillars that you just laid out and all four roadmaps that you just painted the picture for me for, how do you balance all of that? How do you bring all of that together and still make sure that they're all propelling and progressing?
Yeah. So I think up to this point, it's been about seasons, and I've spent, periods of my life just kind of focusing on one specific thing, as the primary thing in my life, so that way I can develop that. Music was kind of on the back burner for most of the year because I was focusing on politics, and then there's a time period during the year I was focusing on catering. And now that I'm in the season where I'm focusing on music, and this, developing the merch and getting my business kind of off the ground. But it's something that when I first started, and I was like, I want to do all of this, figure all this out, blah blah blah. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and it started to be a lot, And one thing that I started to realize was I can't do all of this at the same time. That is not possible. It is not going to work. I'm going to overwork myself, overstress myself, and I balance is something that I've kind of started to learn over these years because if I'm trying to focus on 7 different things at one time, all of the things are only going to move up just piece by piece instead of moving by leaps and bounds. So, part of what I've been trying to do is focus on certain things and start to plan out how I'm going to move forward with the other one. So if I'm not focused on Space Shack right now and I'm focused on politics, I'm working on a campaign. Okay, I got Space Shack ideas. Let me write those down so that way I can remember that and then I can build off of those whenever I do have that time and that space. And so another aspect of that has also been building teams around each of the things that I do. So with music, I've been starting to build a team around, the social media, around the events, and kind of helping other people who are also focusing on those things kind of take some of the load off of things that I'm trying to do all entirely by myself. Because when you have a team, it makes things so much easier. You focus on the things that you can focus on, the other people do the things that they're good at, and things that they're passionate about, which is something that for me, and also like letting, like not being in control of everything as well, was part of like something that I had to grow through because I'm like, hey, I want this to be this way, this to be this way. I'll just do it. But if I'm doing that, if I'm taking that mentality, then I'm still again putting all of that extra work on myself and not allowing other people to shine. So um, having to be able to build a team around some of these things has been really important. I built a team around my music. I've got producers and engineers in different places now, and so that's what's allowed me to get to work on my album because I've been the person who's been helping other people build their teams. So now it's like, okay, now I'm focused on trying to build my own as well as level up in the things that I do and the things that I'm good at. So building teams, and kind of establishing that balance in terms of my workload as well has been really important in the last, especially in the last 3 months. Like, when I tell you the last 3 months has been a very much a transformative part of my life, it really has because I've had to learn these things and not just learn them, but like also do them. Because knowledge is power, but if you're actually doing these things, then that's 10 times more. So not just learning and looking at it, it's like actually practicing what I'm preaching and building these teams.
I think even too with establishing balance, you establish boundaries in the same breath, because it's just like even like you just said, building teams, taking a step back. And I want to kind of explain that when it comes to taking a step back, it doesn't mean that you're not going hard for your brand, for your service, for your craft, creativity, everything like that. It just means that you're working smarter, not harder. It's something I think about even with the podcast. Yes, I love what I do for sure, from social media to just the marketing to the videos to the creative aspect to just sitting at home sometimes and thinking, hey, what can I do today to be creative to catch people's attention? But I also think too, if I had other people in place, if I, sometimes I forget to post, or sometimes it's like super late, and I'm like, should I post? All right, well, we'll forget it to the next day. But if I had more of just a set schedule, or just even like you said, just a team, just people to delegate to, just to be able to do that. It would allow me to take a step back in that regard and focus, on something else. To put more career. Okay, if I have somebody that I know is going to take care of my social media, then I can just drill the content. My content, I'm gonna be mapped out for months because I've talked to people. I talked to TJ. This man said he's thinking about 2024. I said, wow, I'm not thinking that far. I can't think that. But I took that. Your reaction was I said, wow, like I didn't. Nah, I haven't mapped out 2023 yet. So, but it was just like if I can get to that point, if I can even work my way up to that, to have months mapped out, quarters mapped out, different things like that, I would love that. It would allow me to take a step back, and I think that that's something that people need to realize. Taking a step back is not saying that you're not passionate about it. You're losing motivation. You're losing interest. It's just saying that, hey, I was exhausted. I was even overextending myself in some cases because in your case, you have four different pillars. To have to put your best foot forward in four different things, that's four different mindsets. That's four different states of mind. That's four different, bases of research and knowledge. You can't approach music with the political mindset. You can't approach the cannabis thinking about catering. Even though the cannabis could lead to the food and all, but at the end of the day, you have to rightfully and respectfully give each its own time. But the more that you can, get more time back to be able to dedicate and devote in different areas, I think it will really allow for more propelling and more success. So, like you said, it's recognizing that you have your interests, you have your hobbies, you have things that you would do. You can carry these things at once, but you also want to be able to build because two heads are better than one. Three heads are better than one. Some people say less is more. I definitely do agree with that, but I will also say the more the merrier. The more people that can come in, the more ideas you get, the more motivation you get, the more, oh, you could even bring somebody in who could be of help politically, who could be of help to the catering, who may know somebody or have a plug in. Like you said, you're thinking about Rhode Island, Jersey. Well, what if they have family over there? What if, my aunt went to Drexel University, so she studies the culinary arts and different things like that. She's trying to get her own food truck. She does these different. So even if you went that way, I can say, hey, go in there. So it's just sometimes too, just opening up your mind, just recognizing that there's so many resources in our midst. And sometimes it's about, like you said, asking those questions, putting yourself in these rooms, being that networking individual, no matter what, in order to really get tapped in and really get exposed to them. So I kind of asked this question because I'm a little curious myself, but I know the people are going to want to know. So when it comes to the music, bro, what type of artist are you? Are you multifaceted? Are you multidimensional? Are you just focused on one area right now? Are you just gonna give us straight bars? Are you just gonna drill it? Are you gonna add a little singing, a little melody in there? What can the people expect with tapping in, with coming across your music and your content for the first time?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I grew up as singer primarily. That's something I did chorus, choir. I was singing in a band, so that's always been like my strength. But over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been around people who are like more of my friends have been rappers, or people who are freestyling. When you're sitting in the car, somebody throws a beat on. Like you can't keep being that person that skips the rotation. You know what I'm saying? And so I've been that person. I was like, I'm a singer, bro. I don't really rap like that. I don't do this and that. But it's like every time I got all these friends. I'm sitting in the car with 4 or 5 people. I mean, everybody's sitting, straight bars. I'm like, I gotta do something. I can't just, I can't be caught lacking like this. So as recently, I've actually been doing more, making more rap music, which for me, looking back at my journey, thinking like 2, 3 years ago, even I was like not thinking about rap at all, But my approach to that has been, I want to, take it as a high level of artistry and not just be rapping about whatever. I want to actually put some thought into it. And if I'm gonna be a rapper, I gotta have some bars. What I mean, I can't just be out here saying I'm a rapper and then it's weak. So, if people go to my page, my Instagram Music by Ian, and they check out what I've done recently, they're gonna see a lot more rap related content because that's just the lane I've been in. But upcoming, I've got an EP coming out. I think we're dropping it on January 7th, and it's got a mix of both, right? So I'm doing some rap. I think it's more. I would say it's more kind of in a J Cole lane. I ain't got the bars like that man, but definitely like that type of vibe, type of energy. And then the second song on that is more some like so kind of like Division, Usher vibes. And that's something I'm singing a little bit more on. So I've kind of been, going back and forth between both of those lanes, but I also explore a lot of other genres. So I've written some country music with people. I don't even listen to country like that, but it was an opportunity, and we ended up making something cool. I've done country, I've done some EDM stuff, acapella music, and I think those are going to be some things that people are going to hear over the next year or so. But mainly it's been R&B and rap have been like the main genres. I want to make stuff that people can feel, and can relate to. But I also want to make some stuff that people can move to a little bit, and get hype or dance to. You know what I'm saying? Or if you got that song, you need a pop up song. And y'all about to play the game, y'all need to get hype or whatever. I want to have one of those songs that people can be like, get hype to. So those are kind of the lanes I'm in right now, and I'm exploring a lot. With artistry, I don't want to limit myself to one specific genre, but I know that those two things are my areas of strength. So I want to keep building those while also exploring those other areas that I don't have too much familiarity with, or genres that I don't listen to as much. So kind of like I would say rap and R&B are like the main areas and the things that people are going to see. I've been doing a little bit of choreography too, so people are scrolling around there. They'll see some of the stuff I've been doing, dancing with people. I ain't really a dancer like that, but I got so many friends that dance and like to do stuff. So I was like, let me try something out. I got rhythm, so I was like, all right, I can start there, and then we just put the hard work in to get to another place. So that's what people will see. They'll see some rap. They'll see some stuff to make you move a little bit. They'll see some music that's gonna kind of slow you down, something to listen to. If you just want to be a little introspective and kind of think about some deep thoughts. And so, yeah, that's what you're gonna
I
get.
love that, man. It's nothing wrong with having a strong suit or bread and butter, just what you go to, but it's also nothing wrong with exploration, with trying new different things. We see it all the time with different artists and everything like that. I would have never thought I would have heard Dirk popping on a country song. Drake then hit every genre, every note, every accent you could think of possible. It's just people adding in different lanes. We've seen unheard of collaborations, but you like that for music because whereas people may side eye it or be like, what is that? Or what is it's motivation to somebody else, inspiration to somebody. It's like, okay, well if he did that, then I can hop over here. Or maybe it's not as weird if I do that. Or maybe, but you also have to give yourself grace in that respect. It's not always going to just be banger after banger after banger after banger. This isn't rap. This isn't hip hop. This isn't R&B. It's a totally different lane. These notes are different. These guitars, and like you said, all that, the beats and stuff, they hit a little bit different. These ain't those, these ain't no 808s, and you just popping it on and you just going over it. You have to adjust yourself a little bit, be melodic a little bit, finesse a little bit, Harlem Shake on the track. Do whatever you need to do. But I think essentially that will only continuously open you up for more opportunities. They're like, damn, well, the last couple of months, like you said, you have been heavy on the rap, the R&B vibe. Damn, man, don't he got a couple country songs? Then he do some house music with Buddy. It's going to keep your name just encompassed. Whereas because it's some people who we listen to now, and you just get tired of. Them. We're just like, damn, like it's going to switch it up, or it's the same thing over and over and over and over. You drop some jams and some but a lot of the mixtapes, a lot of the albums, be throwaways. There's a lot of skips on there. So you want to listen to projects that are versatile, that are 1 minute have you in your feelings, or you kind of just sitting there like, wow, next minute you up, you turn, like you said, about to pay the game, about to make it happen. You want stuff that's going to really keep because that's just where we are right now. It's just so much being accepted. It's just so much being put out there. How does that? You don't know what could be a one hit wonder. I hear all these different songs on TikToks and remixes and backups and everything like that. That could be you, just the same. Said the flow and everything. So I love that. I think that that's cool, bro. And I'm definitely encouraging everybody to stay in tune, stay tapped in. He told y'all when he's dropping. He told y'all when it's coming. So just tap in. So, bro, thinking about everything that we talked about, everything that you're trying to do, everything that you're currently involved in, even right now, just the differentiation in culture and vibe from North Dakota to North Carolina and everything like that. Do you feel like there's anything we haven't touched on, anything that you want to let the people know, anything that you even met? Because I feel like you gave us some insight, you teased a couple of things today, but do you feel like there's anything we may have missed, or even I'll go a step further to say, are there any words or messages that you want to make leave for the audience? Because the audience will be a host of business owners, it'll be entrepreneurs, it'll be creators, it'll be people in music industry, it'll be people who may have shared the same sentiment as you, just that fear, just the fear of the unknown, just scared to drop for what other people may say, or just not really knowing where to start, or even people in a fresh start. Because, like you said, bro, North Carolina or North Dakota, that's not just something you hear about every day. But nonetheless, you made it happen, you made the finesse. So, anything you want to leave for the people out there?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last, let's see, 4 years. It'll be 5 years, in a few months of me being out there. Is be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's something that I think in the course of the last, 4 or 5 years of my life, I've been in a lot of uncomfortable situations, and it's allowed me, it's given me the opportunity to, really show myself, who I am and what I'm capable of. And when it comes to, being in that, in feeling that fear that you're talking about, or being uncertain, or and all those things, like that's okay to feel. You don't want to deny yourself, you don't want to act like you're not feeling that, but be okay and feeling that, and then thrive and push yourself through that. Because once you do that, and once you are comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're going to learn a lot more about yourself than you would if you had just stayed in your comfort zone. You know what I mean? And sometimes you're not going to find your true calling, or whatever you want to call it, your purpose in life, until you get to a spot where you are uncomfortable. And I can't speak to everybody's experience, but that's just mine. And I think that's something that has allowed me to go a lot further. When I was talking about being in rap earlier, and doing some rap stuff, that is very much out of my comfort zone. And I know a lot of good rappers and people who I really admire, people that I look up to. But being in them rooms and being in them cars where everybody's freestyling, I had to be comfortable. I mean, I knew I was gonna have the best bars, but if I could throw a little 2 piece, 4 piece out there, that you got to start there, and you got to just keep moving. So that's something I would encourage everybody else to think about. There's going to be times in your life where you look at, you're going to go to a situation, or go to a place and you might be uncomfortable. You know, don't focus on trying to get rid of that feeling. Feel that, embrace it, and then shine through that. So
Now that's some true words of wisdom right there, bro. And like I said, a lot of times that I want people to realize that while these interviewees, everybody who I've talked to, is from a place of, I even spoke about it on the last interview with Omar. People speak from a place of what they're involved in, with their experiences, in the craft that they have. If you really just take the message, take the principle, it can be universally applied to anything. No matter, I take a lot of gems from these people, and I'm just a podcaster. I'm not in the hair, I'm not in the streetwear, I'm not in the music, catering, cannabis, politics, anything like that, healthcare, anything. But at the end of the day, a lot of these messages, a lot of these themes are so universal to just life that I've applied to my job, that I've applied to the podcast, that I've applied to family, financially, spiritually, everything like that. So just really, I really take what these people say seriously, and I think Ian really just dropped some gems into that. You know what I'm saying? It's not always going to be the easiest course. It's not always going to be lined up how you expect it, man. It's not always going to be a walk in the park. But do you let that break you, or do you let that make you? And do you, like you said, you go through that, but you also grow through that and then excel from that? So I love that, man. So before we officially close out, before we wrap up and everything like that, the most important part, bro. People ready to tap in, people ready to find you, listen to the music, figure out how they can support, figure out, even follow the journey about North Dakota, because I'm very interested in that too, just the same. So can you just tell us the best places to reach you, social media, website, streaming platforms, everything like that?
yeah, so I'm streaming everywhere. You can find me on Spotify, Ian, Apple Music. If you're looking for me on YouTube, you can search music by Ian. The easiest way to find me, just go on Instagram, type in music by Ian, and you'll find me there. And that has a link to all of my stuff. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my journey in North Dakota, and kind of my experiences there. In the as we were just talking about, the uncomfortability, some of the things that I went through. And so that's something that we're going to start kind of showcasing a little bit as the year comes through and starts rolling in. But yeah, just check me out. I think I got a few different flavors on there that you all could enjoy. I've got some new music dropping, like I said, and Space Jack's gonna be coming out too pretty soon too. So I'm excited for that. That's kind of my like new venture here, and yeah, that's kind of where you can find me.
I love it, bro. Like I said, man, I was definitely so happy to get in contact with you. We've kind of been checking in with each other on social media, the encouragement, everything like that. But to really sit down and really have this conversation, to really go through it all, bro, I'm impressed. I'm motivated, but I'm wishing you so much luck, bro. Just from the pillars to just what you're doing now to everything, bro. And I really love to see it. I definitely think that, one, if you're not an inspiration to me, you're an inspiration for somebody listening, bro. And I think that it shows, man. It shows that we went from something we would have never thought about, a location you would have never fathomed, being in Greenville, North Carolina, to really going out there and excelling, really making things happen, really flipping and making it advantage your life. And you write your own story each and every day, bro. So I love that. So, one, I thank you. I appreciate you. I know I definitely took some value from this, and I feel like people tapping in will. But two, bro, keep the fire coming, man. I've been loving the content. I've been loving the collaborations. I'm excited to hear some of the new drops that you have from the projects to just the singles. But I know the sky is. I'm gonna even say the sky is the floor in this case. You're going so many different places. You've already gone so many different places, and your music is hitting in rooms that you haven't even stepped foot in yet, bro. So keep it going, keep making it happen. Obviously, the Down to Business podcast is supporting you 135%. We got your back through it all. But to everybody, from the IG Live to just people tapping in, the YouTube, the Instagram, Spotify, however you kind of find this and come across this, I appreciate y'all. I know Ian appreciate y'all. We're not stopping though. Like you said, we ended 1 year, we ramping it up. The new year is among us now, but we're not waiting until January 1st to start adopting new habits, to start attacking those goals, to start making things happen, bro. It can really start tomorrow. It can start right now after we do this. So to everybody out there listening, I thank you. I love y'all. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast. Here with Tamar Turner.